Alright, that piece is 100% in. I got the floor cleaned off. I'm ready to just to level out my floor with that. I got my trowel right there. I've got my mixer right here, and I got a bucket to mix it in. And I have a sponge right here. I might have a crappier sponge somewhere around here because I don't need a good sponge. Alright, so now that I've done that, I'm just walking around the floor and I'm being quiet and I'm listening for any little squeak or whatever. So if I do have anything like that, I want to address it now before I put down the thin set to get the floor 100% flat. But I've already walked the whole floor. I'm walking it right now. There's not one squeak, not one, nothing. So everything's quiet. So next step, mix and then use this trowel here and get myself flat as I can as a pancake. That's it. That's where I'm at. Alright, let me show you how soupy I got it. I got it that soupy. So it's pretty soupy. So I'm going to go ahead and Alright, I got to move the camera back out of the way because I got to work on this side now. So basically you get the gist of how I'm doing this. Alright, here's the final product. I can't walk on it, it's all wet. But basically I skim coated the entire floor with thin set is what I basically did. That's how much more I got left over. But I'm not trying to achieve a level floor because it's pretty level. What I'm trying to achieve is just a flat floor using existing materials that I had left over from the shower tile job that didn't cost me anything, that will hopefully just give me a super flat substrate prior to putting the 1/2-inch plywood on top of this. So this way I won't have any depressions or whatever. Okay, so we're back after the floor is cured. I can walk on the floor now. I knocked off all the high spots with a 5-in-1 scraper, and then I'm checking with my I don't know, 55-inch level, which is just a piece of wood. But you see that gap that's under there? Right under there. So it's touching over here on the ends, there, oops, and over there, but in the middle I've got a gap. So I mixed up another batch of mud. Oops, go back here. Mixed up another batch of mud, and I am going to lay it down. I'm going to start over here. I'm going to screed it out very slowly, 2 feet at a time, and I'm going to go for it again for another coat so I can get this done. Hopefully that's all the mud I need because, well, that bag is empty. I still have one more bag, but I'd like to just get it done now, so that's it. Okay, so here's the floor with the second coat of thin set on the floor, troweled out smooth, okay? I put my 4-foot level here to try to show you. Alright, so I got it zoomed in here, and I'm going to try to show you how tight I got it. This is a 1/8 inch shim. This is 1/16 of an inch here. It's clear, but it's a little hard to see. You can see that on the 1/8 inch, it cannot fit underneath if I go the whole distance. The 1/16 inch shim will fit underneath, although it is kind of tight. So I'm somewhere between about a 1/16 and a 32nd of an inch within being with being totally flat. So Alright, so I got the piece of floor underlayment in, just doing a dry fit. I just have it sitting up on some pieces of wood. And you can come over here and you can see the huge gap over there. And then it comes down and touches the tub over here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a block of wood and a carpenter's pencil here. I'm going to hold that up against the tub. And then I'm going to hold this pencil flat to the piece of wood here, and I'm going to continue doing this all the way through, like that. And when I do this, what's going to happen is I'll have a good contour of the tub. Make sure I'm nice and flat here. And let me show you. Okay, now that I've got the piece in place and I've got a dry fit, I got an 1/8 inch shim against the wall there, 1/8 inch shim against the wall in the back right there, and an 1/8 inch shim against the wall here. Now the walls aren't perfectly straight, so some sections are tighter than others, but all in all, this is close enough that I'm comfortable. Now, I want to measure and cut for my hole for the toilet flange. Now, here is the toilet flange that I'm going to be installing. Let me see if I can get this so you can see it. Now, you'll notice that this has a contour right there. So basically, I want my line to go right to where my finger is, this inside line. Taking this piece of roll of extra blue tape that I have, and I put that over that, it pretty much, if I measure and cut it on the line, I'm going to get the exact cut that I'm looking for with a minimal amount of wood. So this is going to be my template, so to speak. So now I need to measure and cut, right? So what I'm going to do, now before I did all this work, I measured out the exact center point of the hole. It's 10 5/8 this way, 16 1/2 this way. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my tape measure. I got this, and I got a pencil. So I should be able to accomplish my goal this way. So now 10 5/8 from the finished wall out to here. 10 1/2, 10 5/8 is right there. Going this way, it's 16 1/2 inches, which is this line right here. Okay, so that is my center of this hole. Take this, put that, I can just eyeball this in the center of that hole, hold that down, go all the way around, and then I'll take it to the jigsaw and cut, and when I do my cut, I'm going to cut it on the line, and that should be pretty much where I want it to go. Just like that. So basically that's it, and just to see if I actually did that right. So it's 2 1/4 on this side. Yeah, I'm within a 1/16 of an inch of exactly where I want to be, just by eyeballing it like that. So I should be close enough in order to get this thing to fly just like that. So that's my intention. That's what I intend on doing. And just double check, make sure everything's good. Yeah, if I do it that way, I should be okay. There's, like I said, a little bit of a radius there, but I should be all right. I guess I could just go on the outside of this line rather than on the line. Just cut to the outside and it should be big enough to do what I wanted to do. So I'm going to cut that right now. Well, I don't know what happened, but I can tell you one thing, I completely blew it. There is the hole, is where the hole should be, and there's the hole that I cut. The only thing that I did is somehow on my paperwork where I put down 10 5/8 by 16 1/2 and the tub is right there, I just double checked, those measurements are way off. So I don't know what the hell I was doing. I just blew it. I made a mistake, okay? I guess, you know, human beings here. So anyways, I think what I'm going to do, because I really want a nice area around that toilet, is I'm going to use this piece because it fits in there so nice as a template. I bought two. Okay, here's piece number 2, dry fitted in place. And this time I took the measurements down, and let's see, I was way off. I said 10 5/8. It's actually 12 7/8 from the wall, 18 1/2 inches from the tub. And then I went ahead and did that right there. Now normally what you do is you can measure twice and cut once, but my measurements were off, so I was just completely messed up. But right now I'm showing the center point 12 7/8, 12 7/8, and 18 1/2 from the tub, 18 1/2 from the tub. I'm within a 1/16 of an inch. And so there's my hole right there. Now, one thing that I want to explain. What I could have done is I could have edited this section out, not showing you my mistake, making it look like I'm some kind of complete expert that doesn't make mistakes. And that's not the case. What I am is a homeowner, a DIY person, trying to achieve professional results with DIY tools and DIY experience. And guess what? I blew it. I made a mistake. I'm owning up to it. And I think that that's the proper approach in these projects. In other words, don't expect that every single step will go as planned without one mistake or hiccup along the way. There's many, I think, during a project like this. That seems like just a silly one on my mistake. I actually don't even know how I blew it. I thought I wrote down the right numbers, but I didn't. Why I didn't write down the right numbers, I don't know. But anyways, I think the healthy thing to do is to just acknowledge it, figure out what you want to do to deal with whatever mistake you made, and then move on and just continue on with the project. So anyways, that's why I wanted to leave this mistake in there to show you if you hypothetically are a homeowner, maybe you want to tackle a DIY project like a bathroom remodel. You're not a professional remodeler, like I'm not a professional remodeler. I don't remodel every day, okay? So sometimes I pick up I do a job here and there and pick something up, but I'm buried in the office so much that sometimes you get buried with so much paperwork, the years can go by before you do another project. Anyways, that's where I'm at, and I just wanted to explain why I left this section in there, and to talk to you about it in case you have fears about you're not going to make a mistake or whatever. I think you just need to accept it and just move on. If your intention is like mine, I want to be the owner of the project, I want to do the project, I want to take the responsibility of the project, I'm doing the project. So sometimes you just have to have that mental attitude or something like that in order to have enough confidence in yourself to start the project and continue the project and to see it through. I cannot stand starting a project and not completing it. I have a completion thing where I'm on the project. I want to stay until it's exactly 100% to my satisfaction before I move on with another project. Otherwise, you'll find yourself starting projects and starting another project and maybe even starting a third project and never finishing any projects. That's not how I operate. Now what I want to do is I want to start a project, and I don't start that second project until the first project is completed, unless I'm waiting for parts, tools, materials, or some part is on order, whatever. I'm waiting for something, and there's a reason why I can't proceed forward with that first project. Maybe it's a curing time, maybe it's whatever the reason is. But if there's no prevailing reason why I cannot be on that first project, the first project takes the priority. I complete that project prior to moving on. Okay, so that's just a little background on how I try to operate. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to go ahead and cut this hole, and hopefully this time it's in the right spot. Okay, the good news is the hole is where I want it. And I'm just doing a dry fit. Of course, this is a push tight. It's supposed to have this on it. I'll put some grease on here, and before I put it down when I finally set this. But this doesn't go on until the finished floor is on. And that's the benefit of doing it this way, is that what's happening is when this gets set, if you ever want to pull it out, you just have to pull out your screws, and this will just pull right out. It's not going to be a glued in fitting. It's a push tight fitting, and it's called Push Tight by Sue Chief. Anyways, that's it. It looks good. It looks like it's going to be fine. And when we get to the toilet stage, I'll get to that. For now, I'm just putting in some paper in here just to make sure sewer gases don't come up. And I'm going to continue on with my project. Okay, so what I've done is I've laid this out. I had to trim it actually a little bit more. I didn't have enough expansion gaps around. So I got my expansion gaps around the perimeter, about 1/8 of an inch, where I feel comfortable. I feel good about that. So then what I did is I went back to, I laid the piece down here. Then I went back to my drawing. If you remember, I took, not my drawing, but my picture that I took, a picture of the floor prior to giving it the skim coat, which tells me where all my joists are located. Hold on. Oh boy. All right, so when you look at that, oh boy, hold on. So when you look at that, I can determine exactly where my joists are located. No, yeah, my joists, my floor joists. And so then I just simply took the tape measure, measured them out because they're from the finished wall over, and then put down where the joists should be located with pencil marks. So I have everything identified on this piece of wood, because I don't want this piece of wood to move. And then just using 2.5 inch drywall screws and my impact wrench here, impact drill, whatever. I just put a couple of them in to hold that in. I'll probably end up using these screws throughout just to keep this in. I also got those 2.5 inch ring shank nails that I could throw down, but you know, a screw is better than a ring shank nail. And when I lay these out, I'm laying them out so that they're flush. I'm not recessing them. I'm trying to get them flush as possible. Now, one other thing I've got, because I RedGarded that shower, I've got leftover RedGard. I think I'm going to put down some RedGard after everything is said and done in this section here and around the toilet, maybe this whole section right here. Because it's free, it's not going to cost me anything, it's left over. I'm going to pay special attention to that. So if there's any type of a leak there, it's not going to rot anything out. So anyways, we'll get to that. But for right now, this is where I am at. Everything is looking good. And I decided the way I'm going to handle this second piece. Okay, so I have a hole cut in the first piece, which was supposed to go here, that I made an accident on. I want to put that accident approximately there, because the vanity. Okay, so here is the final wood layout. So the first piece is right there. Holes in the right location. I already got that tacked in with a couple of screws. What I'll end up doing is I'll end up using these 2.5 inch screws. I don't know, maybe I'll do like one row here, one in the middle, one over there, and then maybe a few of the ring shank nails in between. And the same thing for this piece here. So then I got this piece here. There was a hole right there. I just took the cut out, put it in there, and held it in with a couple of ring shank nails. I'm going to go around that with some thin set. Also, this piece here is a little short. So right here on the back side of this, it's a little shy up, and also I had notched out because originally this piece was going to go over here, and the notches were for the tile there and there. So I'm just going to fill that in with some thin set. And then this here is my molding that I'm going to be using right there, and I'm just verifying that the pieces are going to be large enough to do the molding. And I'm going to do a small gap, like as an example. I got a very small gap. Here's a putty knife, and I can fit that down in between these two pieces. I'm going to do the same thing right here before I set that down, and then I'm just going to take some dap caulking and just use a putty knife and just fill in that gap right there. I'm also going to put caulking around here and around the tub, just this area right here. Plus, I also want to seal up this section right here around that, this section right in here, and then I'm just going to waterproof all of this, leaving the inside of the pipe alone. The inside of the pipe is where that is going to go. So I'm going to do all that right now, and then my underlayment should be 100% ready. Oh, out of curiosity here, we're nice and flat, level. I mean, the material that I'm using here is like a plywood. Let's see, I got some scrap piece right here. So this is it right here. Here's a side view of it. It's about 1/2 inch thick. It's only got three courses of laminates in there. But anyways, it's super smooth. That's why I chose this particular one. And it's a plywood, and it's not like an MDF where in case there's some water infiltration, MDF will swell all up and get all distorted. This should hopefully, if it does get wet, still remain fairly in decent shape. So anyways, that's where I'm at now. And then plus I think I'll also just RedGard this section over here, close to the tub and by the toilet, just the first couple of feet in. Can't see that it can hurt me, so that's where I'm at. Okay, here's the floor down with some caulking in place. I'm going to mix up some thin set now. I got a bag of thin set right there. I'm going to mix that up, and then I'm going to fill in this section here. And then there's a little bit of a lip right there. I'm going to smooth that out. Plus, I'm just going to go over these dimples at each nail and screw head just to make sure they're perfectly 100% flat and smooth. I caulked in around here. I'm going to let that cure out. You can see how nicely I got that around there. And then I'm going to, like I said, my intention is to RedGard everything. But, and then also I caulked really well from that joint down, across the tub and onto the other side. So that's done really well. So that's a nice seal. So if I RedGard this whole section, that'll be really nice and waterproof. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to now mix up the mud and fill in the joints and the screw heads. All right. Here is with the thin set down, making up that joint back there, and filling in that spot where the mistake was made on the original hole, so that's nice and smooth. Cleaning up the seams, there's a little bit of a lip right there, smoothing that out, and just going around all the nail and screw heads and touching that up. So I'm just going to let this cure out, and then I'll vacuum, and then I'll knock out all the high spots, vacuum the floor, and then it will be ready to put down the sheet vinyl. A little issue with the job that I just did is that I technically didn't use thin set. What I used was this large format tile mortar, which should act like thin set, but it does not act like thin set. It is really kind of granular. Thin set, like, let me give you the example. Here I'm just trying to do a little skim coat with this, and it's not really working out that well. It's really gritty and sandy. The thin set, if you remember, before I put down the sheet underlayment, I skim coated the floor. I was using not this large format stuff, but actual thin set. That did a skim coat really well, and it wasn't so granular. And I was able to get a buttery smooth finish, nice and creamy with a very thin skim coat. This product here does not do that. It won't let you do a skim coat cleanly. But I ran out of the other stuff, so I only needed just a small amount for this job. So I didn't want to go and spend another $30 and get another bag just for this. When I'm done, this floor will be very smooth, very flat. It's just not the preferred product to do what I'm doing here. This is definitely not the preferred product. I'd rather have the thin set. If I had it, I'd use it, but like I said, I ran out. Okay, so that's it. I'm gonna let this cure out. Oh, I forgot the RedGard, yeah. Let's see, I do have some leftover RedGard here. And what I want to do is let this dry, cure out, clean everything up, and then I do want to RedGard that section after I clean it up before I put down the sheet vinyl. Okay, so that's where I'm at. Okay, so here's the floor after I finished mixing up the mud, putting it in there, letting it dry out, and then I took a sanding block, this sanding block right here, with some 80 grit sandpaper there, and then went over all the screw holes and everything like that, and I got everything nice and smooth. A little bit of elbow grease to get it nice and smooth, but that's done. Then I took the shop vac, everything up. So now the floor is 100% clean. This is my leftover RedGard from when I did the waterproofing on the shower. So this is just the leftovers. I got not much, but enough to put 1 or 2 coats down. I'm going to start here around the toilet and start working out here and try to get around the tub. Okay, there it is with a 1 coat of RedGard. I still have more left over in there, so I'm going to give it another coat and after a couple hours, let this cure out, and then I'll recoat that with the 2nd coat. Okay, so here's the floor now. I did a 2nd coat of RedGard there, and I still had some leftover RedGard, so I just went around the whole perimeter here and went around the perimeter of the room. So if there's going to be water intrusion, it's going to start from the perimeter and work its way in, right? Alright, so this is what the first piece of the template looks like. I got it taped down in 4 locations, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should not move unless I, grab it or whatever. You can see how tight I am. I just used my knife, my taping knife, went in there, held it down and then with a utility knife went and made the cut. I should be within 1/8 of an inch of the walls, and over here I went tighter because I've got the threshold right there. So on this I tried to go tight, and on this one I tried to go I just jammed my knife. I used my 6-inch taping knife like that, held it in there tight like this, and then just cut, you know, pushing against the tub, trying to get it as tight as possible all the way through. Even though it looks like right there I didn't, I was trying to, without ripping the paper, hold it in place. Anyways, I'm going to put a bead of silicone caulk there after everything's said and done, because I want that to be a waterproof connection, but that's the last thing that goes down. All right, now that this first piece is down, I'm going to grab my roll sitting over there, and I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to put it on top, cut the second piece, and then tape it to this first piece right here, and then I'll have a full template with the door cut out and everything. Okay, so here's the final product of the template that I want to use. Basically, I tried to maintain a 1/8 inch reveal all the way around, cut out for the toilet, and it's kind of curling up there, but if you step on it, kind of see, you know, exactly how much distance we are there, all the way across, and hopefully it's going to be about 1/8 of an inch. Now I'm going to take this template off, lay it on top of the actual floor, which is over here, and start cutting. Okay, so I got my template down. I've got it taped off here, here, and several spots over there. I've already made this cut here. Now I'm going to show you, by doing this cut over here, my technique. So let me bring the camera over here, and there you go, and let me show you how I do this. Let me get this back here so you can see this really well. Okay, that's a good viewpoint. Okay, so what I did was I changed out my blade. I got a nice sharp blade on my utility knife. I cut myself a small strip of masonite, hardboard, and I've got a pencil mark right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just laying that on top, and I know that once I slip this in, I'm going to stop at that pencil mark, and it's going to come to right here. So I'm just going to put a pencil mark on my paper. Then I'm going to take this, I'm going to slip this underneath, make sure that it is at the pencil mark here where I start my cut, and then I can actually feel it because it's got a small reveal, and I know that I'm right there. This whole joint is covered and protected. Okay, now that's that jog in the wall for that tile. So I'm just going to use this knife here and come out from here to here. So I'm just taking this, get it nice and flat, straight, holding that down to right there. And then that takes me to that cut, to right there. Then I'm going to come over. There's a jog right there. Okay, make sure that I'm totally good here, and I am. Let me just get rid of this small piece. Put that to the side. Okay, now that we're on the straight run, now I'm going to change knives to this taping knife rather than that taping knife, because I don't want little cuts. I want to try to stay as long and straight as possible. I'm going to put my taping knife down right on the brown paper, right to the edge, and I'm going to go right to there, right to there, and then I'm going to hold that down, take the knife while pressing towards the taping knife, holding that down, and I'm going to just score that right in there. And then just make sure that that's good. Kind of walked on me a little bit there. So you just have to do it slowly, gently. Alright. And you have to always pay attention that you're lined up properly. Again, I'm going to do the same technique, cutting towards the taping knife, and then I'm just come up here. And what I can do is I can just take this and just put that underneath there. Alright, and then I'm just going to keep moving down and just keep making this cut. Okay, right there, right there. And then just make sure I got that, and I do. Bring that down here to here. Whoops, I went right off the edge there. I went too far. My bad. I could feel that I was supposed to be watching that line and I got away from me, but I don't think I caused any problems underneath. No, definitely not. But I was supposed to stop right there, so you got to watch out for that line. Okay, so now that I'm that far, I'm gonna now, let's see here. Now that I'm there, I'll see if I can cut the rest of this. No, it's going to need more than one cut. So, but basically, you get the idea. I'm just going to continue on with this all the way around and just finish out this pattern. Okay, so around the toilet's fine. It's a little tight here, so I can trim off a little bit of excess in certain sections. Over there looks really good. That gap looks a little larger than what I expected, quite honestly. So I'm gonna have to. I'm planning on caulking this edge anyways, but I didn't plan on putting in that much right there. So that gap turned out larger than I expected, I must admit. Anyways, so that gap's just a little bit larger than what I expected right there. Might have to put down a brown caulking here on that joint. I'll use a brown caulking to blend that in with the tub right there. It'll blend it in with the floor better. It's a little tight right there. It's rusting up against it. That might not be a terrible thing. I might make that joint a little bit larger because it's touching right on it. I don't want this thing to bubble. But basically, everything else is good. All the other joints are fine. All the other joints are real good. So all that's buried back there. That's in back of the vanity. So my worst joint is my worst cut. Okay, I was able to adjust this whole thing so this edge got up here real close. Let's see if I can show you real quick. See how tight I got that? So it's real tight. So I made a little flap here so I could bring that back. So I'm going to bring this this back here. No, I'm using this product right here, which I'm going to install this with what's called the loose lay method. So I'm using this Roberts Max Grip tape, which I have right here, which when you look at it, you think it's double stick tape, but it's not really double stick tape. It's tape that you pull the backing off. So I've laid out 2 strips right here. I put down some blue tape against the tub. I'm going to use, I brought a sample of this to the sheet vinyl to the Home Depot so I could color match it. That was the best color match I could do. I ended up buying this one because it's got that mold-free product protection. I would have bought the one that had 10-year, but the 10-year only came in white, and I wanted to try to color match that. So I got my caulking here ready to go, and I got a little bit of mineral spirits in case because it's a silicone based, it's not water based. I got some mineral spirits nearby, and so what I want to do is I want this edge to be completely protected. So I'm going to take this caulking now, and I'm just going to run a bead along the perimeter. That's pretty good. Now that I got that, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull off the backing strip for the Roberts. I'll do it over here so you can see. So once I do this, I'm having a hard time grabbing it. Let me grab my utility knife and try it this way. So this should leave the glue behind, and I'm just pulling off the backing. Alright, so got that one. Let's get this next one. So I did 2 rows of backing, and you don't have to do you do not have to do the entire perimeter. You only have to do I'll show you once I pull the camera back, but basically it's in front of the door, in front of the tub and the door, and that's it. Alright. I'm going to throw these away. Alright, I pulled off a little bit of caulking here. Let me just lay a little bit more right here. And right there. Alright, everything else looks good. Let me go ahead and put this down. And this will be the final seat. I'm going to do it. So I'm just going to push here in the center. make sure that everything is as flat as possible. Okay. Now, I would have liked to have had a seam roller, which okay, over here I had a little bit of a mess up, but I cleaned that up. Of course, the baseboard is going to be on the right hand side of that tile, porcelain tile. And there's the rest of your joint there. It's pretty clean. I'm happy with that. That should be waterproof and good. Just going to let that set. That takes care of that joint. That's what it looks like from the pan back perspective. And now I can work on the thread. Okay, here's the final product after everything is cured out. I want to point out to you that on this seam here, where I put down the silicone on the little section here, and then 2 rows of that Robinson's tape, the silicone is so cured, you can see a little bit of it sticking out, whoa, right there, where it kind of let it ooze out and didn't clean it up. Well, it is so tough that you can't even peel this back. I mean, it is anchored so well right there, glued so well, the sheet vinyl to the underlayment, that I question myself whether I even needed that Robinson's tape. I probably could have saved 10 bucks. Just did a little bit of strip like this of the silicone, stepped on it like that, and been fine. But because it's not like I do this every day, I didn't know how much I could get away with, so I just did both just to cover my bases. Anyways, that's done. Everything else is fine. I'm moving on to the next step, which is baseboard. Now, I don't know how the vanity is going to set up, so I got to bring the vanity upstairs and get that going so I can figure out how to do that. But I can at least put the baseboard from here to here and finish that out. And I can also get it going for over here. Now I'm using 2 different types of baseboard. So over here in my work area, I got my sawhorse set up here on a table. And there's this baseboard here, which is just a real plain baseboard, which is going to match the existing baseboard that's in the hallway, which is that baseboard right there. So the way that the hallway was done here is like this. It's this baseboard here, and then with about 3/4 inch half round or quarter round rather. So what I've done is I've purchased this stuff here. Okay, that'll take care of that. Plus I got some of this quarter round stuff. Now this quarter round stuff is already it seems like it has like a plastic coating on it when you look at the ends. So it doesn't require painting. And then for the bathroom itself, this is the the molding that I chose, the baseboard that I chose, and it's already pre-painted, so I just pretty much got to cut it, fit it, and just paint the ends. To paint the ends, I've got some extra white paint here, so it's just basically a semi-gloss finish on white paint. I labeled it doors and trim because I used it in the past. Alright, so anyways, that's just for touching up the ends, because this one here just came primed, so I had to paint this one last night. So I did go ahead and paint this one, so that's ready to go. Alright, what else? Alright, so that's it for the baseboard. I already got a couple of measurements here, so I could at least get this one going. It looks like this left side, once I put that in, it'll kind of match the right hand side, which is pretty much the baseboard in the back, and then the quarter round with the 45-degree angle on this side. And then to come into the doorway, you can see here where I did a couple of cuts like that, a 45 and a 45 on both ends on the small piece there. I guess there's a couple different ways you could have finished that. This piece here could have just come straight out like that instead of going out of 45. I guess it's a little bit softer. It kind of comes in like that. It's fine. It's not highly critical, I don't think. Anyways, that's that. Oh, and then to secure the baseboard, I had to pull out my air gun, so I got my air gun. I had my air compressor here from when I did the spray texture job, so I just left it up here. And now I've got my my brad nail or whatever, so I can go ahead and put in the brads. I was testing out the gun yesterday on this piece of wood right here, and I was just trying different things. One of the I had a couple different size of nails, and this size here just kept getting stuck. This is the size I actually wanted to use. It's a little bit smaller in diameter, but it kept getting jacked up in the gun, and so I just went to the next larger size, and it was a little bit longer, but it worked much better in the gun. It didn't get stuck in there, so I could seat those pretty well. And then what I'll do is when I seat those and there's a little divot there in that, I'll just use some white caulking. Something, let's see, what do we got here? We got some white DAP. We'll use some of this stuff that's paintable. It should be paintable. Let's see if it says that somewhere. Yeah, paintable and water cleanup right there. I have to read it. Anyways, I'll just put some of that stuff on, let it cure out, and then just touch it up white paint with this here, so all the little blemishes from the nail divots that look like this here will all be hidden. So that's the next step for the baseboard. Alright, so basically that's it for now. Alright, here's a couple of nail heads that somehow they messed up with the gun. So what I'm going to do is I got 2 pieces of extra linoleum here. I'm just going to put that here. I'm going to put my 5-in-1 tool here. And then I'm going to take and try to grab the head of this with my channel locks. Let me just see if I can do it this way. These things just break right off. Alright, hold up. Okay, so let me try that. Okay, got one. Now let's try to go for the other one. So at least I got those out. I'll have to clean this up. I'm going to have to clean up these divots anyways. But basically, if I just take my end of my 5-in-1 tool and roll that in there, I can try to smooth that out. That's not too bad. So at least I can go ahead and continue on with this job. Just want to kind of show you how I'm doing that. All right, so you still have to anchor the rest of this material in. Okay, let's go with the next one, which is right about here. Okay, and now I can determine where my next stud is. I just heard it. There it is. So my next stud is way over here. Let me go ahead and anchor that in. Okay, let me put one in the middle. Oh, it probably doesn't even need it. I'll just leave that. And then put one here at the end. There we go. Okay, so actually I have two spongy right here. That one never anchored. I gotta anchor something more over here. I gotta do something with that. Alright. Okay, so now I'm getting ready to put the threshold in. This here is the new threshold, and you can see the lip, how it's offset. I've got the track installed. Basically, what's going to happen here is hang on a second. What's happening here is that you take the track here, which is right here, and I've already screwed that in, so that's already anchored. And then this here is supposed to just snap. Once that fits into place, hang on, I'm trying to get it. Well, that is hard to start. Okay, there it is. So that's snapped in, and now I'm trying to pull this out, and that is fully gripped in there. I mean, I cannot pull that out. Maybe if I put a putty knife underneath it and then pry it out that way. And you see that small gap right there? So that's going to be for the screw heads. So, like I said, I've already got it installed. I've already got this pre-cut and everything. So now just put the ridge side towards where it's the lower elevation, so you can see it like that. And then I'll just get this so it's centered. And let me just try to push on it, see if it'll go. I think once it gets started, it'll go. There we go. Okay. Okay, there you go, right there. There is your final product on the threshold. I found this was the threshold that came out. This was a threshold that I just found around the house. Another threshold. Now this particular threshold did have, this is just an old one, but you see this one did have an elevation. But look at the elevation difference between the one that I installed and the one that I just found. And I just did some experimentation off camera to see if this one that I found would work. Because I noticed the color on this one matches this floor better. This color matches this one better. But this one was actually a good mixture between the two when I did a comparison analysis. But the prevailing thing that really made this threshold better was the fact that the elevation was higher, and that made better. When I tried to do it with this elevation, it looked weird and funny. So anyways, basically that is the final product on the threshold. That's